It's round 25 of NPL Victoria action, live from Lakeside Stadium, the home of South Melbourne Football Club. My name is Bryce Ruthven, joined this afternoon by Ed Gooden at a very wet but still picturesque Lakeside Stadium. Good afternoon.
Picturesque is almost generous. Thanks very much for having me here, Bryce. But looking across the Melbourne skyline, it's somewhat ruined, dampened by the dampness of the day. But let's hope it makes for some exciting football. Maybe not too many mistakes, but maybe we'll see a couple of goals in the wet weather.
Yeah, well, the pitch is in great condition considering the weather, and it's expected to stay this way across the afternoon as well. So luckily for us and the cameraman, we're undercover, so we'll be staying nice and dry. But the players, they'll be drenched by half-time and might require a change of shirt. Let's go through the team lineups, starting with the away side. Altona Magic in goals, number 21, Shane Vidakangas. Number 2, Liram Elmazi. Number 23, Dane Milovanovic. Number 19, Semi Nyor. Number 5, the captain, Troy Ruthven. Number 14, David Trejanowski. Number 24, Michael Lee. Number 8, Robert Stambolziev. Number 10, John McShane. Number 20, Samuel Mitchinson. And number 13, Davor Trifonov on the bench this afternoon. Number 40, Rory Curran. Number 36, George Murray. Number 7, Adam Risky. And number 4, Anthony Nestorovsky. As you can see there, Ed, a couple of young boys under 20s on the bench this afternoon for Altona.
Definitely. I mean, it might be a statement to the game we have today, where really the only thing at stake is a shuffling between 7th, 11th, those kind of places. So might just be an opportunity to give some younger players a go and see how they fare at the NPL level.
As you see, kickoff will go through the South Melbourne lineup. Number 20, Zach Bates. Number 35, Melvin Beckett. Number 15, Ben Giba. Number 12, Nicholas Krasaridis. Number 2, Perry Lambropoulos. Number 7, Giuseppe Marafiotti. Number 5, Jake Marshall. Number 1, Nikola Reganovic. Number 10, Marcus Schroen. Number 18, Konstantinios Stradomitrios. And at number 45, Jerry Salados on the bench. Number 27, Lee Monopoulos. Number 19, Will Orford. Number 23, Angelo Regianis. And number 9, Vasilos Konstantinidis. So the big striker, the big target man for South Melbourne on the bench this afternoon.
Obviously a good target man, especially in this type of weather. They really thrive, especially when the ball's maybe skidding along, maybe touches are going wary, but it's kind of a big role to play if his touch is right and he can feed his fellow strikers. They might have a chance here, but also it depends on the service, which might be difficult as well, considering how windy it is today.
Well, that wind is coming off Albert Park Lake to the right-hand side of your screen, so it will favour South Melbourne in the first half as we see John McShane look to bring the ball down for Stambolziev. He'll try and turn. Just breaks away from Melvin Beckett and finds the captain, Troy Ruthven, who spreads it wide. Sam Mitchinson finds Semi Nyor. Work it well with Trifonov. Stambolziev looking to get a shot off on his left, and Reganovic up to the task. And it's one of those surfaces here. It's probably really suited to this kind of conditions because it really speeds the ball up.
I haven't spent too much time out on the Lakeside Stadium pitch, but as you mentioned, it is in really good condition. I think the drainage around the ground here might work super effectively, even considering there is the athletics track. But yeah, as you mentioned, I think with the wet weather conditions, it's going to skid. It's going to move a little bit faster than the players might expect, so they might have to spend a little bit of time adjusting to that.
Well, if you are watching through the Facebook Live platform, feel free to get your comments on there. Let us know who you're supporting, where you're watching from, maybe your score predictions. Let's actually get a score prediction from you, Ed. What do you think it could be this afternoon here at Lakeside?
It's going to be interesting. I think with the weather and the fact there isn't too much at stake, obviously both teams are going to be playing as hard as they can, but I think we're going to see a draw. I think it's going to be 1-1.
Probably not a bad shout. I'm going to say maybe a 2-2 draw. I think we might see a couple of goals. There's a couple of good attacking threats. One of them on the ball right now in Marcus Schroen. Probably expect to see a goal from him tonight. He has got 4 for the campaign so far, so we'll wait and see if he can add to his tally as John McShane invites Semi Nyor in. Finds Michael Lee on the left. And the ball is just played out wide onto the athletics track on that far hand side. Liram Elmazi will put this back into play. We were saying before we came on air for the match this afternoon that it's really one of those stalemate games which really has nothing riding on the line for either side.
It definitely is. I mean, I think you look at the positions that are kind of... It's kind of an odd situation where there's there's so many teams that really don't have a huge amount to play for. Like, they can't be relegated, and then they also can't make finals. It's interesting. I mean, I think seeing South Melbourne in that position is a little bit strange, considering how big they are and how successful they've been in recent years. But Altona, they might be happy with it. Actually, finish this season, but I'd like to see how this game goes and see if anything comes of it. But yeah, like you said, not a huge amount to play for today.
We were also saying too, it's really a reflection of how these sides have been throughout the course of the year in terms of injuries. As you said, there is quite a big gap between the top 5, top 6, 7 points at the moment as it stands. But really, it's a reflection of how these sides have really had big injury hits to their squads, and I suppose more so for Altona. They were up there at the halfway point. South Melbourne was kind of struggling a bit, but they've sort of found a bit of form with some new signings. But Altona have kind of just gone south.
They have gone South Melbourne. But yeah, they were looking really good. I think we mentioned last week on call that they were considered to be one of the favourites. Maybe South Melbourne might be in here, actually.
And there is a chance on that far-hand side for Marafiotti, the leading goal scorer for South Melbourne. El Mazi tries to challenge it, and a clash between Milovanovic and Marafiotti, but the referee waves it away. And Altona, they ride their luck on this situation. And we've just had an urgent call for the Altona doctors to come on the field. Vidakangas with a head knock. Looks as though he's copped a bit of knock there on the left-hand side of his head in that challenge.
I didn't get a great look at that one. It might have been the Altona centre-back colliding with Vidakangas there, and maybe a little bit of friendly fire, but that was a bit of a strange situation. We saw South Melbourne breaking away down the right-hand side, and really not a huge amount of contesting there from the Altona defence, and he's able to waltz right through. But credit to Vidakangas, he put his body on the line, but unfortunately might have ended up worse for wear.
Well, it could be a debut for the young under-20s keeper, who is on the bench this evening. So we'll just keep an eye here on the play. But obviously yesterday we had a massive clash in round 25, which I suppose you could kind of say has sealed the title for 2019 for Heidelberg, getting a late winner, 3-2 over Avondale.
It was a huge game, and I think watching at home you could hear the ecstasy in Josh Parrish's voice as he called that final go for Heidelberg. I think it was Sean Ellis who picked up the winner, and it's such an interesting title race we've had. We see Avondale, there were, how many points were they clear? Almost 10 points clear at one point, and Heidelberg, they're chasing down. They've remained super consistent, and it's tough to say they haven't deserved the title if they are able to pull through next week. Who are they playing next week?
So they've got Bentley away next Sunday. Of course, all games in round 26 are all Sunday at 3 o'clock, as expected every year. And they've got a massive clash because Bentley looking to really climb the ladder as high as they can come finals time, and Avondale hoping that Heidelberg come here next week and play here at Lakeside against South in the massive game, and hope that South somehow can take the spoils off their massive rival.
That'd be interesting, and I think it's almost a shame that they're all at the same time. We obviously know why, but if I was in a neutral perspective, in a viewer's perspective, I want to be keeping up with all of them at the same time. Maybe I'd have to get the multiple monitor setup. Who knows? Yeah,
you can definitely get a couple of videos going on at the one time. Next week too, not only is it hot at the top, but at the bottom of the ladder as well. Pascoval, they're going to be travelling to Paisley Park. Currently sitting on the bottom of the ladder. They've got really nothing but a playoff spot to try and win themselves at the moment.
It's going to be super interesting, and I think everyone in that position does just have the playoff spot. As it stands, standing on Thunder, they are sitting with 21 points, just one ahead of Kingston City, who are playing, I think, later today or
tomorrow night at the Grange.
So that's going to be super interesting. I think the fact we have that promotion relegation is super exciting, and every year it's always so much up for grabs. But it'd be really interesting if Dandenong Thunder can manage to stay up. Obviously, it will depend on the playoff spot, but Pascoval, they've been down there pretty much all year, and if they can clinch one, that'd be massive upset and a big opportunity for them as well. Yeah,
ever since the loss of Davey Van Schip during the season, they've kind of just spiraled the wrong way out of contention, really, where they were in a position that they could have maybe earned their spot without having to go through a playoff or potentially automatic relegation.
I think losing a player like that, I think for any team there's probably one or two players who really stand out, really add to the quality, and almost a glue for a side, especially in such a hotly contested league like the NPL. One player going down can really make a massive difference.
Well, there is a rumour floating around that Davey Van Schip may be wearing Port Melbourne colours next year, so we'll wait and see where he ends up in 2020, as we'll stay with play. And Good bit of play there from the right back to find Troy Ruthven. He goes back to Dane Milovanovic. Finds Vidakangas, obviously copying that knock moments ago, but seems to have recovered well. Elmazi goes searching for Stambolziev. Ruthven just spreads it out to the right-hand side. Looking for John McShane, but the ball's just overhit, and Jiba can't quite clear it and finds Michael Lee. Uses Sammy Knorr. Comes all the way back with a good bit of composure with Milovanovic. And Altona really looking to try and play, even though the conditions don't really suit this type of game. They're really trying to take it to South and, I suppose, play a possession-based game.
It's interesting, actually, because a couple of weeks ago we saw Altona trying to spoil the party with their pressing and their counter-attack play. So it's interesting seeing them back on the ball and playing the possession-based play. I think the fact South Melbourne, they are a little bit further down the table. It does allow Altona to relax a little bit and spend a little bit more time on the ball. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think Sammy Knorr is going to have a big role to play. I think he's been drifting centrally and he's trying to get on the ball and maybe use his skill and use his pace to really find a good pocket of space. But it's going to be interesting to see how South Melbourne, if they remain tight or if they get stretched by the Altona possession-based play.
Yeah, and he was out with injury for quite a lengthy period of time. And since his introduction back into the starting 11, really has added a bit of a spark and a bit more speed going forward too, because he is one of the quicker players in the NPL.
He's extremely quick. I think I've seen a couple of times this season how much he can just rinse a couple of defenders with maybe a quick forward touch and then a really quick little bit of sprinting. But good advantage now played by the referee of South Melbourne.
And Elmazi does well there just to break up the play, but still isn't over as Salados has a bit of room in the middle. Spreads it out wide to Jiba. You'll find Beckett. Goes searching down the centre corridor. And Marcus Schroen has a strike from distance, but just puts it to the left-hand side. And unfortunately for the players here, there's no sponsor boards behind it to actually block the ball going all the way down to the back.
It might be more unfortunate for the ball boys, who we see trudging his way towards the ball. There is very little enthusiasm with that one, but I think the conditions, it's such a difficult shot to pull off there for the South Melbourne player it was almost outside of the foot, wasn't it? Trying to bend it, but no luck and unfortunate. But the conditions we see, they might see a couple of long-range shots trying to bounce the ball just in front of the goalkeepers, maybe cause a fumble here or there as well.
Well, Marcus Schroen can find a strike from distance with that left peg. Actually scored a great free kick when these two sides met at Paisley Park earlier in the year when the South actually did take the honours that night. So they're looking to get a second one up here. And as you see, Sam Mitchinson get the ball across the face of goal, and it eludes all players in that 6-yard box there, and it gives a chance for South to break along here. And Salados can't quite keep the ball in play in front of the South Melbourne dugout. And it might be the case we do see South actually try and play a bit of a counter-attacking brand, which is what we've kind of been used to seeing Altona play in recent weeks. It's
interesting, and I think if they do have that target man striker up there, it might allow for the counter-attacking play, but it's going to come down to the pace of the players supporting him, and if they can get on the end of those touches or headers. And you saw John McShane playing that role a little bit there with that fantastic touch, but it's going to be super interesting. Obviously, the service has to be good as well. So if the service is bad, can't do much about it when you're a target man, which is the savagery of the role, I'd say.
The ball played in, and the South defenders do well just to break that play down. Give the chance to Reganovic just to settle his boys in front of him. Altona have had much of the possession in the opening 12 minutes Lakeside. See Marshall go long looking up the line. And Elmazi will deal with that one. And as I say that, he doesn't, and turns the ball over quite cheaply. And there's a chance here, and a great save from Shane Vidakangas down to his right-hand side. And Altona very lucky there not to go down to 1-0.
Huge save by Shane Vidakangas. He's pounced down to his right-hand side, and it's a strange angle we're on where we couldn't quite see where the ball was heading, but he's done super well to get down and to keep it 0-0 here at Lakeside.
Stambolziev puts his ball in, looking for the head of Trifonov. Can't quite find it. The South just happy to clear their lines. And Elmazi again just turns the ball over, and a chance Down this right-hand side for Marafiotti. He goes one-on-one with Vitakangas and bravely comes out, but Elmazi almost puts in the back of the net, only to be saved by his captain. And Altona have a chance to break here. Sammy Nor's got a bit of space in the middle of the park. Got some good numbers forward. Rides the challenges here, and he's only got himself to work with here, and he does quite well to get around Marshall. The ball comes in, and Melbourne Beckett just extinguishes that counter-attack, and Cementa and stuff here.
It's a super strange couple of passage of play we've seen. I mean, it's Elmazi. I'm not sure what's been going on, but he's had a couple of shockers so far. Usually super reliable at the back, but South, they seem like they're trying to walk it in. I think you just got to pop a shot at that point, and then you saw Sammy Noor with a fantastic bit of skill and getting a great cross into the box, but unfortunately for Altona, no one there to meet it.
We predicted goals in this one, and this is an early sign of what's to come. In the first 15, we might see one here off the corner, but Roganovic does well to claim that one. But good to see both teams actually trying to attack the game. As you said, there's not really much riding in terms of where they can finish in terms of the place on the season. Maybe Altona jumping South, but that's really about it. And to see some good attacking football, that's what we can really hope for.
Maybe that both just said before the game, let's just go out there and let's just put some sauce on this one and try and get the goal difference, try and pad the stats. Who knows?
Maybe there's a few individuals looking to get a goal before the 2019 season comes to a close. As we see Salados looking to take on Trifonov and just spreads the ball into the middle of the park and can only find Sam Mitchinson at left back. They've got the chance here to spread in. Salados does well to close the ball down there from Ruthven. He'll try and get a shot away here on his left, and Elmazi just comes to smother that one, puts it out for a South Melbourne corner.
Salados with the press. I played an interesting ball before. I think that's the kind of ball which may cause some difficulties to the Altona defence, but you saw him pressing down, getting another chance, and we mentioned the wind, we mentioned the conditions. It's going to play a massive part, especially with set pieces like this. So we'll see if South Melbourne are able to get a good ball, and you see the big boys arriving in the box, and Altona they're going to have to work hard to keep this one out.
We'll see Marcus Schroen whip this one in on his left foot. Ball comes in to the penalty spot, and McShane clears that out, and Beckett playing against his old side, and Vitakangas spills it, and it is called that the ball has not crossed the line. Offside has been flagged by the assistant referee, and what a moment for Shane Vitakangas.
I think the linesman communication was key with the flag then. I guess it must have been offside.
I thought he flagged it went over the line.
If it goes over the line, I think the lines
just run, don't they?
Yeah, they just run. They
just run out of the situation.
I mentioned before the bobble and the shot that maybe bounced in front of the goalkeeper. Shane Vitakangas, he's let that one slip straight through his legs, and I'm not sure who it was for South Melbourne. Unable to pounce on it, unable to get a good enough foot on it. This is a very, very strange game we're seeing today, Bryce. Very, very strange.
Constantinos will play in Salados, and Vitakangas comes out again, and that is a great save for Shane Vitakangas, making up for that error moments ago. And it gives a chance for Sammy Noor to counter-attack here on that left-hand flank for Altona, and Melbourne Beckett extinguishes that challenge there. But what a crazy couple of minutes.
Shane Vitakangas, he's probably had more happen today than he has all season. I think that was a fantastic save there before, though. He came out super, super quick. We've mentioned it a couple of times this season how big he is, but how quick he is as well. But going back to that earlier passage of play, it's almost like his gloves were slippery.
Well, he's the biggest keeper in the league at 6'7". Any keeper that was any shorter than that would not have reached that out, and it would have gone over the line.
I wonder what his wingspan is. Can we
I think we just saw it. It's huge.
Oh, it's just massive. That's what it's written on the team sheet. Massive.
We'll have to ask him after the game. What is it? He'll probably just say, lucky. I don't know. He won't even give a measurement. As you see the ball on the far-hand side with Marafiotti. Looking to get to his left, and Vitakangas again with a great save, and it's been given a corner, and Vitakangas, well, you know what? If you want to see the highlights and bloopers of a goalkeeper, this is probably the match to watch for Vitakangas.
He's had about everything happen to him today, but that save there was exceptional as well. He's got down super, super quick. It was tough to tell from our position whether or not it did get a touch. The referee, maybe benefit of the doubt, he's awarded it a corner, but once again, South Melbourne, they're applying the pressure. We mentioned Altona, who'd spent a little bit of time on the ball, but not so much now as South Melbourne. They're really applying the pressure and really pressuring this Shane Vitakangas goal for a while now.
Slater whips the ball in, searching for the head, but can only find Altona Magic. And Marcus Schroen will play it short to Beckett. I'll keep it short again, and it'll give the chance for Robert Stambolsi just to break away here. And it does very well to ride the challenge, and he's broken away, and he's got Sammy Noor on the far-hand side if he can find him. He'll go searching for it, and he'll look for Sammy Noor, and Sammy Noor cannot put it away. And scuffs his shot at that far right-hand post, and that should have been 1-0.
You can see the absolute tragedy of Stambolsiev. He's on his knee, and Sammy Moore, he has to put that away. He's worked super, super hard to even reach that ball in the first place, and saw the skill from Stambolsiev. He's almost put it completely on a plate there for Sammy Noor, but this is one of the weirdest football matches I've seen.
Robert Stambolsiev joined me in the commentary box a couple of weeks ago when he was out injured, and I saw how emotional he was as a commentator. I can't imagine what he'd be saying out there on the pitch right now, because he just dropped to his knees, and you can only think he's really looking one way.
I think Sammy Noor probably owes Stambolsiev a beer there, maybe a couple as well. Maybe it's the wet weather conditions, maybe it's the bubble, who knows, but I think my 1-1 prediction might be out the door if this continues.
Yeah, I think maybe my 2-2 at the moment might be looking a bit wayward, but it's only early days, only 19 minutes played, and it's been a very entertaining 19 minutes.
We definitely can't complain about the entertainment, giving us a lot to talk about.
Who said it was going to be a stalemate?
Exactly. Who knows what they're playing for at this point? It could be anything.
They're playing for the most entertaining game of 2019, as we see Liam Marzi look to slip in Sammy Noor, but Melbourne Beckett does well there, just to force a bit of pressure on him. This is actually the first time that Melbourne Beckett's come up against his former side. Obviously, he came through the grades with State League 1 and NPL 2 last year as well. And then when promotion came, things didn't work out for him and he went elsewhere. And now he's finding himself at South in the winter transfer window and now coming up against his former side.
It's interesting coming up against your former side, especially when wasn't necessarily leaving for any reason, but he wasn't relegated and then left for a better side. Joining South Melbourne is an accomplishment in his own, just how big they are, and almost one of the biggest clubs in Australia. But it's interesting to see the role he's playing as well. Is it slightly different to what he was doing at Altona, or is it relatively similar?
More attacking at Altona when he was with the boys in red and black, but seems to have found himself in a more defensive role since coming to South. As we see the referee just wave away shouts for a handball. And I'll take it down to the byline South and get the ball in. Ruthven gets a header on it. And Trifonov will just try and claim that out. And Stambolsiev does very well to get around the outside. And as I say that, commentator's curse, he just takes a big touch.
He's a bit of a trained Stambolsiev, isn't he? When he gets a full head of steam, he's got a lot of pay. He doesn't look like the quickest bloke, but I think it's just the mass itself which allows him to just propel himself forward, and a couple of touches and he's away. He's a really integral part of this Altona midfield for sure.
Sam Mitchinson just not quite communicating there with Sammy Noor, and Rob Stambolsiev is a player with a lot of experience. Obviously spent a lot of time with Sydney FC overseas as well, and now one of the stronger players when he's fit and firing in the NPL Victoria, and I think he's had not a bad season so far. I think he'd probably admit himself too that these injuries have really held him back from what he'd sort of aimed for come March.
I think the games that I've seen with Altona, I've seen a few this year, and Stambolsiev, he's been a player who definitely stands out. I think it suits the style of play that Altona try to play with the counter-attack, and considering how quick and how strong he is, he can hold up the ball as well and create chances for his teammates around him as well.
Well, I think if you were to compare the starting team for Altona in round one of the campaign to today's starting team, I think the only players that would be left remaining would be Troy Ruthven and Liam Marzi. You could probably put Robert Stambolsiev in there as well if he wasn't injured, but really it's a whole different team.
It's interesting how you see that happen during the year. You mentioned how good of a start they had, and what was it exactly that prompted such a big change? Was it just trying to trial and error?
ACL injuries, players leaving for whatever reason. That sort of thing. I don't really... probably a question for my brother, but not myself. He's the one that's playing. But, I suppose that's just what happens at this level of football. As we see Stambolsiev go for a strike, takes a heavy deflection, will go out for a corner. I suppose it's not just Altona. We've seen many sides make a lot of changes in that winter transfer window. Things not working, players want to go elsewhere and look at different pastures, I suppose.
I guess that's the thing with football, is you see decisions made on the fly, and you see maybe looking for a hot fix instead of writing it out and seeing how it goes. But maybe they don't have the time and don't have the support of the coaches or the board around them to kind of continue in the losing ways, which is fair enough. You've got to make the changes when you have to.
Ball comes in, looking for Milovanovic, and El Marzi will just try and shield that ball, and gives away a free kick on that far hand side. And it will be interesting to see what these two sides do in the off season, because obviously disappointing campaigns for both sides, and I suppose more so for South Melbourne. They'd probably look to be up there, of course, being a massive club that they are. They'd want to be floating around finals. With Altona, well, you never really have too much high expectation on the promoted sides from NPL2, but the side that they did have on round one, you'd be looking at thinking we're a top 5 side.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you did mention the injuries. You mentioned the changes and how some of the teams that are floating around 7 to 11 were affected by injuries. But as you mentioned, South Melbourne next season, they've surely got to make some changes. We saw the coaching change at the start of the year, and the assistant stepping in. Are they going to stay with him, or are they going to maybe switch it up? It's, the results have been okay, but they haven't been anything, like you mentioned, to the South Melbourne standard.
Well, the talk around Lakeside is that he is staying on board for next year, so good for stability here for South Melbourne fans, and well, likewise too for Altona. Goran Lozanovsky apparently staying on board for next year as well. So stability is the key. Now it's just a matter of locking in the players that you want and bringing in those players that you think you need.
I'm quite happy that Goran's still going to be around for the Altona games that we call. He's always makes things exciting. We see a quick yellow card, but those are the kind of things that Goran likes to get into, and he likes to get a little bit intense, which is always good to see.
If I was the fourth official or the assistant referee in front of him, I'd be very worried. He's holding an umbrella today, and he's been waving it around, something shocking at the moment. So I'd be very worried if I was the assistant referee in front of him, because he almost copped in the shoulder.
He's using the umbrella to good effect as well. I think it's
the point.
I think it's the jeans as well. He almost doesn't look like the coach. He just looks like a bloke standing there with an umbrella, which almost makes it even scarier.
Should we check he's actually got his coaching pass to get in today, to be down there?
Who knows? Maybe.
He'll be right. Marcus Schroen whips the ball in, looking for the penalty spot, and Jake Marshall. Salados sends up with it, fakes to shoot and sends the ball out wide. And John McShane just out on the left-hand side, just doing a bit of defensive duties. The ball comes all the way to the back. And it's sent straight back long. And Trajanowski looking to work in with his captain and Stambolziev. And Trifonov finds Ruthven, who turns away. Finds Elmazi. And puts the ball on the outside. Sammy Mitchinson just having to adjust his run. He does quite well there. And it wins his side a free kick in a good position, and a great bit of play there from Sammy Mitchinson. It was really turned that situation to something that was nothing.
Yeah, it's. I think when you earn your team a foul like that, it's almost as good as earning them across into the box, and it's a super dangerous position. It's perfect angle to really get a good ball in and to find a head as well. And credit to Sammy Mitchinson for doing well to win Altona the free kick.
Some comments coming through the Facebook Live platform. Another bumper crowd. If you've never been to Lakeside, they'll sit right beneath us here in the camera platform. But to be fair, I think a lot of fans have just tucked away as the ball comes in, and John McShane can't quite connect, and it goes out for a goal kick. Maybe the South fans are just having a rest this week and then coming out for the big one next Sunday against Heidelberg.
They've got to get the energy up. I mean, this is my first time at Lakeside, and I've heard good things about it, how it's always packed, it's always pumping. And you can tell here that the fans they're into it, they're passionate, but I think the weather persisting the way it did, look, I probably wouldn't come out.
Well, I've been here on a day where they've had grand finals, and it was full, about 5,000 to 6,000 people. Maybe, actually, I think it was about 7,500 the day I was here. For a normal club match, I've seen maybe 1,000 to 2,000, and it's a good atmosphere here. It's a great stadium to come and watch football at.
Yeah, I mean, the facilities we have here, I was treating myself in the canteen a little bit before to a nice souvlaki and a South Melbourne dim sim, which you do not see very often. You do not see the Southies. I mean, it makes sense that they're here, obviously, but you don't see them anywhere else. No other canteen in the NPL would have a South Melbourne dim sim.
Normally a good souvlaki here, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I think I need to check Josh Parrish's review of the souvlakis.
Has he done one?
Well, he would have. If he's done a game here, he would have done a review. If you're not following Josh Parrish's NPL's Food Safari, check it out on his Instagram. But I think the meat, the quantity was lacking, but the quality was really, really good. Really, really nice.
Well, if you're not happy with the food here, South Melbourne markets are around the corner, and that's also very good.
I got to check them out. Maybe they imported the price is a little bit higher than what you see at a South Melbourne market, but you can't complain. You're here to watch football and eat dim sims. You got to pay the price.
Correct. Michael Lee plays the ball to Ruthven. Finds Milovanovic. And spreads the ball wide, and Reganovic ends up with that one there. Now, if you haven't been made aware on Facebook as of yet, we've got a triple header coming up at Amy Park on Sunday, September 15. Lock this in your diaries. It's going to be a massive game. The promotion relegation playoff will kick off the day. Always a huge game, that one, Ed. Then we've got the NPL Women's Grand Final, and then of the NPL Victoria Final as well. All at Amy Park. You can get your tickets through ticketek.com.au. Check that out. I know I'm going to be there. It's going to be a great day.
I'll be there, 100%. I mean, to see those three games in the same day, it'll be fantastic, especially at a facility like Amy Park, which is quite similar to the one we have here. Nice and close. You get to have a good look at the players and good look at the atmosphere, and those three massive games there, be sure to deliver. Yeah,
I saw a few comments coming through saying, it shouldn't be at Amy Park, put it here at Lakeside, better atmosphere and stuff. But I think give people the opportunity to come to a great stadium for an NPL Victoria fixture. The players would want to play there. I can guarantee that.
If you've got the facilities, and it is a treat for the players as well to play at a venue like Amy Park. And, if you're a fan, you'd want to spend the day at Amy Park where the food's good, you're undercover relatively.
Well, fingers crossed the weather's good.
I pray that the weather's good. I mean, Amy Park, the cover's pretty decent, so wind shouldn't be too big an issue, but I think if it's a sunny day, I think it'll make the football even better.
Yeah, even if your side isn't in the grand final, definitely get along that day. It's a great day. And as I said, it all kicks off early in the morning and goes right through until the late afternoon. I'm trying to think what the crowd was there. Last time I had a grand final at Amy Park. Might have been about 5,000 to 6,000 from memory.
Who was playing? Who would have been playing?
Oh, you've I think Heidelberg. And was it last year? Avondale?
Yeah. Avondale?
Was it Avondale?
You've
got me off guard. I was living in Queensland at the time, watching it online.
The classic Queensland excuse, of course.
I'll take it when I can use it. You see South have the opportunity here to go forward. Salados spreads it wide. And Trajanowski does well just to break that play down, and Beckett finds the ball in the middle. Ball come left. And a great ball down here, and a chance to get in behind here, and Vitikangas comfortably claims this one, and the South Melbourne fans groaning that there was no one in the box waiting to tap that one in.
They weren't happy with it, and I think I didn't quite see who was racing into the box there for South Melbourne, but I think the way that the fans reacted might not have been working hard enough to get on the end of that cross. It was a fantastic ball and a fantastic bit of pace there as well to reach that one, but the ball was good, but maybe the follow-up play wasn't good enough then.
Salados will spread out to the left-hand side. Bit of trickery to get around there, and Trajanowski brings it down, and that will be a penalty awarded to South Melbourne in the 31st minute. The South Melbournes, now they find their voice, because this is a great chance. There's actually a bit of a blue here between Marcus Schrone and another player over who's going to take the penalty. Well, this is unbelievable. I've never seen two players fighting over a ball. And Marafiotti obviously wants to add to his goal tally. And Marcus Schrone, wearing the skipper's armband, pulls rank.
He is seriously unhappy with that one. He wasn't the one who earned the penalty, was he?
No, he was not, no.
I mean, I'm really wondering about the in-team politics here. Obviously, we don't want to make any assumptions or spread any rumours, but you see Beckett, he's almost holding him back. Who knows? Maybe he'll run through and take it, running outside the box.
That could be a first. Marafiotti just comes out of nowhere and just skies it into Toorak Road. Who knows? But definitely not happy. And, well, now the pressure is definitely on Michael Schrone's shoulders, because if he doesn't put this away, one man who's going to tell him that he's not taking the next one.
That would be very interesting. I think Marcus Schrone, he's been good from the penalty spot. He should put this away.
And he does find the bottom left-hand corner. And he's got a couple of boys that come to celebrate him. Marafiotti is not one of them. And South Melbourne go up 1-0 in the 32nd minute at Lakeside Stadium. And the South Melbourne fans, they find their voice and a bit of confidence as well for South Melbourne to go into half-time with hopefully a 1-0 lead.
I always like hearing a little bit of a chant after a goal. I'm not sure if those can hear it at home, but it's the classic football chant. Even for a penalty, they get around it. But there's more words being had here between Marafiotti and Schroen. It's very, very interesting.
And all players are going to modify. I can't even talk. This is unbelievable what we're seeing here. There's players arguing amongst themselves. I think they just want the season to end maybe right now.
They're done. They're out of here. They don't even.
They've checked out.
Yeah, they're gone. I think maybe they did a whole bunch of penalty practice. Bennett with a great bit of tackle there. But maybe they did a whole bunch of penalty practice during the week and Marafiotti won the contest. Who knows?
Well, we'll wait and see what happens if there's another penalty. And a good bit of play there from Troy Ruthven, just to an inside a goal kick. And I wonder if they'll be on passing terms, Marcus Schroen, because that was, I don't think I've actually seen anything like that in an NPL Victoria match.
The only other time I've seen that is with Murray Balotelli, and that's
expected.
Yeah, that's standard. It almost came out of the blue. Something must have happened. Who knows what would have happened? But you see these kind of things in football, and I doubt it's anything to do with scoring goals and getting all those kind of things. But if there is a dedicated penalty taker, they should probably stick to it. And maybe Marafiotti wanted to step in. I'm not sure who the dedicated penalty taker is, but
the ball's cleared there from El Mazi, and John McShane will end up with this. And he's got some numbers in front if he can release the ball quick enough. Tries to play in Stan Bowles if he's asking a lot of the Altona winger. And Reganovic just settles it down. And a great ball out to play. And a great bit of play too from South Melbourne. And they've got some space in the middle. And just scuffs the pass completely. And Sam Mitchelson decides to go for a bit of a run at left back. Takes his space. And tries to find Seminole but can't quite find it. Well, Marafiotti, he's on 6 goals for the campaign. Marcus Schroen is on 4. Maybe they're trying to fight between the two of them who's going to be the leading goal scorer for South Melbourne this year. Not that there's really many goals to brag about, but
no. I was having a look at the goal scorers earlier today, and you saw that there's not a huge amount for the South Melbourne boys. Maybe Marafiotti's. Maybe there's a goal he has to reach this season. Who knows how it's working? But
do they get goal bonuses? Maybe that's what it could be.
Maybe that would be a dog move, wouldn't it?
Oh. I don't know. Just something that just came to thought there. As you see, Arcelados had the chance to put that one away and just scuffs the shot. And it gives Michael Lee and Sam Mitchelson the chance to work that left-hand side together. They'll just slow the play down. And Sammy Noor will come into it now. Works it with Michael Lee. Trajanowski. Find Trifonov. And Stan Bolsey will go one-on-one. He'll get the ball in, and Sammy Noor comes off the shin and goes to the right-hand side of the upright, and another chance there for the Magic.
Altona, they've been a little bit quiet following the penalty, maybe even 5 minutes before that, but another chance. Sammy Noor, considering the chance, he did well. He probably did a bit better than he did earlier with a much, much easier chance, but Altona, again, they're proving how dangerous they can be when they kind of play that simple triangle-based possession football.
Just touching on what we saw before with Marafiotti and Marcus Schroen, did the coaching staff address that at half-time? You've surely got to make mention of something. Do you do it publicly in the dressing room, or do you just call them aside in the tunnel on the way in? I
think it'll probably be addressed by the players themselves. You saw how quickly the rest of the teammates went to the conflict. There might have been something in the past. There might have been something during the week. We don't want to speculate too much and maybe spread too many rumours, but I think the players, hopefully they sort it out at half-time, and hopefully they're able to get back on terms and focus on the football ahead.
And it is that man, the ball, Marafiotti. Rises challenge of Ruthven and finds Beckett. Shape to shoot and then just holds it up. Invites Marcus Schroen to play. And some good hold-up play from South. Just trying to control possession here. And they're happy to come all the way to their back line, just keep a bit of possession and try and ride this clock down to half-time. Doing well to keep it here. Beckett. And you can kind of see now the pitch actually through the middle. He's actually starting to get a bit of wear and tear through it, which is something you don't normally see here at Lakeside.
I was about to say, we saw Beckett, he took a little bit of a slip and slide. Maybe he's got the wrong studs on, but does seem to be maybe tearing up a little bit. The rain was pretty consistent there for a while, but mentioned earlier the drainage system around here is really, really good. Such a great facility, but I think that it's still going to be slippy. It's going to be greasy on the surface, as I mentioned earlier, and we've seen that a little bit as well. You see the bounce there actually almost propel itself forward, but who knows what we're going to see in the second half? Maybe the end of this half. Maybe it'll get a bit worse. Maybe it'll get a bit better. Who knows for the pitch? I'm not a groundsman, unfortunately.
No?
No. Maybe I should do a little groundsman course to really get the expert opinion on these kind of things.
We'll let you Google it at half time and I'll get back to that one there. Well, to the right of the camera, you can see there's some massive dark clouds, and to the left, the sun's coming out. So if we look left, let's pray that comes towards Lakeside.
It's the Melbourne weather. Which way is the wind blowing? Is it to the right of screen?
I think it's actually swung around. It was coming from the right, but now I think it's behind the Magic.
It do be like that sometimes. I feel like poor South Melbourne. Maybe they won to toss and depended on it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, so far they're 1-0 up, so they can't really complain about the scoreline. As we see a great ball from Stan Bowles. Looking for Sammy Knorr. Invites in John McShane. He's caught up, and Marcus Schroem will play it away. And the Altona player is calling for a handball. Referee awards a corner.
It's an interesting one, that handball. I'm pretty sure it did strike the arm, but from a referee's perspective, those ones are incredibly difficult to call, especially when it's incidental and the arm's not in an unnatural position. We'll touch on this after the corner, but I think what we've seen in the EPL with VAR and those probably would have been given. Obviously no VAR here, but tough one for the referee for sure.
We have got one of the best in the business in charge of this match as the ball comes across, and a bit of pinball, and another corner is awarded. And geez, that ball could have gone anywhere, that second header.
Oh, I think when the ball swung into the box like that with that amount of pace from Stan Bolziev there, it's tough for any defence to deal with it.
Stan Bolziev whips it into the back post, looking for El Mazi. Marcus Schroen just clears that one. Brings in Zach Bates. And El Mazi will just look to get this one back down again. But South do well just to get the ball back at their feet. Just try and contain the possession. As I say that, the ball just goes wide and they turn it over to the former South player, Milovanovic. Plays Ruthen, who plays it short. Stan Bolziev. That's Trifonov. And Stan Bolziev can't quite work it in together with Trifonov. We'll go out for a goal kick.
Stan Bolziev, I think he might have struck himself in the face with that.
In the chin, I think, yeah.
Right in the chin. Those are often the best touches, though. They often lead to the biggest opportunities because even you're not expecting it yourself.
Absolutely, the ball could go anywhere.
Yeah. Depends on the size of the chin, of course. Not sure. I haven't been close enough to Stan Bolziev to give him a full chin inspection, but
I'm not going to say he's got the biggest or the smallest chin going around, but it's a chin. It's just a standard chin. To see Stan Bolziev just break that play down of Zach Bates. It'll be a South Melbourne thrown in front of their home dugout. In no rush to take it. 4 minutes left of the first half, plus stoppage time as well. Could probably expect to see a couple of minutes of stoppage time as well. Marafiotti brings it back, and Schroen plays it to Marafiotti. Looked a bit frosty, that one, I'm not going to lie.
It might have been put an extra bit of sauce on that one. Sting the foot slightly.
Yeah, Marafiotti didn't look too happy, now he's going over to the other side. If you're wondering what we're talking about at the half-time break, rewind it to about the 35th minute when the penalty was scored. And a shot there just goes over the crossbar, and another chance for South Melbourne. Vidikangas looking for an early release, but the Magic players aren't on the same page as him at the moment.
I think Vidikangas might want to take as big a break as possible considering the first half he's had. And luckily he wasn't too troubled by that strike there. A bit of a difficult one to keep that one down, but you mentioned how exciting the first 35 to 40 minutes were. As we see the clock winding down, I hope the players don't chill out too much at halftime. I wouldn't mind seeing more of it in the second.
Salados tries to intercept that pass. Milovanovic ends up with it. Finds Michael Lee. He finds El Mazi. Some space to move here for Michael Lee. He turns over to Melvin Beckett, who equally has some space and goes searching for Zach Bates on this left-hand side, who takes a touch forward. He's got Trifonov in front of him. And The youngster does quite well to break that play down, but South do regather. And Melvin Beckett, you can see him slipping around. Maybe he needs a change of footwear at halftime.
He possibly could. I mean, I think how many boosts do you think they'd bring with them to the game? 2?
You'd say maybe 2 to 3.
2 to 3. Gee.
Well, at this level.
Oh, I think maybe depends on the weather forecast as well. You kind of bring the long. I'd be wearing long studs in these conditions for sure.
A great bit of defensive work there from Stan Bolsiev to win the ball back and brings in Trajanowski. And he turns the ball straight over, and the Altona coaching bench isn't happy, but there's a great ball to the right-hand side. And Vitikangas up to the task and release Sam Mitchinson.
That's where I think we see the surface really playing its part. It skidded on and slipped its way into Vitikangas' hand, but fantastic ball in South Melbourne. They are finding these little pockets, these little chances here and there. I think on a sunnier day, on a drier day, they might have had a couple more chances. A
great ball there from Ruthven to find Trifonov, and Zach Bates doing the defensive work, and that's the kind of play that the Magic probably needs to get back onto the scoreboard, using those wide channels that they've really got some goals through in recent weeks.
I think the plays they do have out wide, they've got a lot of danger, and seeing John McShane in the middle as well is always going to be good, especially when you're whipping some nice crosses in. And I think Sammy Norr is someone who we touched on earlier, but he hasn't had a huge amount of chance in the later part of this half, and maybe looking forward they might want to utilise him a little bit more and utilise his pace in his counter-attack alongside Stan Bolsiev, of course, as well.
That man does whip the ball in to the 6-yard, and Milovanovic makes a connection, but no more than a mere touch. And Trifonov will bring the ball back centrally to Michael Lee. And Ruthven will whip this ball in. And looking for the... Would you call that a shot? I'm going to say it was a cross gone wrong, but...
something like that. I think you know Troy best. What did you get any telekinesis link there? Maybe to tell him what had gone wrong there?
If it went in, it was a shot. You'll probably just say a miss-hit cross then.
It's usually how it goes. But I think,
absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Didn't quite get the whip on that one. I mentioned how good the crossing has been for Altona and had a little bit of a chance there, but for someone like John McShane, the service has to be super, super good. We've called a few games for McShane the last couple of weeks for Altona, and he hasn't quite found the score sheet, hasn't quite found his rhythm, I think, but I think if they can continue the good service, it's only a matter of time before he gets on the score sheet for Altona.
Michael Lee works it down to the corner. He's got a few South Melbourne shirts in front and does turn the ball over. And Ruthven does well to win the ball there, and a free kick is awarded, and it will be the first yellow card of the match as well.
It was difficult to say from down here. I might have been following the ball a little bit, maybe didn't quite see it. It might have just been a professional foul, or maybe the referee thought there was a little bit more in it and maybe wanted to put his foot down. I think late in the first half, he probably going to let the play go a little bit more, but as mentioned, the first yellow card. It hasn't really been a game where there's been too much tetchiness, or between...
Well, not between opposition.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe can't really reward a yellow card for having a go at your own player, can you?
No, well, I don't know. I think you probably could.
There was something a few years ago in the Premier League where 2 Newcastle players had a chon.
That's right, yeah.
And I think they both got sent off.
Joey Barton probably involved.
Yeah, 100%. He probably wasn't the one chonning, but he was involved 100%.
He's probably arguing with himself.
Or just tweeting at himself online, maybe.
Milovanovic spreads the ball to El Mazi. In stoppage time, and that is the end of the first half, and it's a 1-0 lead to South Melbourne at Lakeside Stadium. A penalty to Marcus Schrone. Just a quick update to it before we actually go to a break at half-time. There is another match currently in action. Melbourne Knights taking on Hume City. 87th minute. Hume City up 2-1.
Yeah, about what you'd expect. I think Melbourne Knights, the way they've been playing, they're up and down. It's no surprise that they might be losing a game here and there, but today's game has been super, super exciting. And the first half, I think I would have let that maybe run on 5 more minutes if I was the referee, just for the pure entertainment of it all, to be honest.
Well, it is a half-time break. We'll be back in about 15 minutes' time from Lakeside Stadium. It's round 25 of NPL Victoria action at South Melbourne, and Altona Magic live from Lakeside Stadium. if you've just joined us and you haven't seen the graphic come up, is currently 1-0 in favour of South Melbourne. Marcus Strone with a penalty. And there was also a disagreement between the captain, Marcus Strone, and also Marafiotti. Now, here's an interesting one, and Gooden. Marafiotti has been subbed off at half-time.
That adds... I think some tea might have been spilt at half-time, possibly. Maybe some gossip flown around, but that makes things excruciatingly interesting. I would have loved to be in the change rooms.
Well, Constantinides has been has come on as a replacement, the big target man, and Zach Bates, I should say, not Jack Bates. Zach Bates has been moved out to this right-hand side, and, well, something's definitely going on in that South Melbourne dressing room.
That's so strange to see. I've never seen that before in a football match. It's very, very doubtful that would have been tactical. Like, you have to look at it realistically and see that it must have been because of the conflict, but it's going to be super interesting to see if anything comes of that.
Well, it is quite chilly, but it was a really frosty passage of play between the two after that interchange. And the funny thing is, it was over who was taking a penalty. They won a penalty, and they just couldn't decide who was going to take it.
It was the fact that it happened so quickly after the penalty was taken. There must have been some discussion during the week or maybe before the game as to who would take a penalty. You saw Marafiotti ran instantly over to Marcus Strone, who grabbed the ball, and there was immediate conflict. And the way that the South Melbourne players ran over to stop it, it must have been brewing. There must have been something going on, but it's just so strange to see. And I wonder if Marafiotti is still in the building. Is he here?
He could be underneath this because we're actually broadcasting about the dressing room. So we'll actually above the South Melbourne dressing room as well. I can't feel any bottles being thrown at our feet, but who knows?
Hopefully he heats up the building a little bit because it has gotten extremely cold. But if anyone has any insider news as to that,
yeah, maybe it stemmed from a training ground mishap. We're not too sure.
Keep it down in the comments. We'll keep the tea brewing and we'll keep the gossip coming.
That's what they're there for. The comments on Facebook Live if you're watching through YouTube as well. Flick your Facebook on your phone or your laptop, however you're watching it, and leave some comments about this game, what you're thinking so far. Our score predictions yours was 1-1, mine was 2-2.
Yeah, I think that was about right. I think 2-2 probably closer to the prediction I would go with now, but the way the game's been playing, for those tuning in at home, if they did miss the first half, I'd honestly go back, watch it again, and then watch the second half, because that was one of the strangest halves of football I've seen at NPL level, or at any level, to be honest. And I feel for Shane Bitakangas because he's had such a big first half. Let's just hope he's got a bit of a rest in the second 45 minutes.
Sammy Mitchinson trying to open up with a bit of width here. Finds Michael Lee. Finds Stan Bowles, even comes back to Mitchinson. Zach Bates doing some defensive duties, and Bennett Giba goes to ground with the assistance of Sammy Noor. And it will be a free kick, and Reganovic will come over and take this.
Sammy Noor is going to be something on this near side who's going to be super interesting to see. I mentioned at the end of the first half that he didn't quite get the chance that we might have expected, but I think with the weather kind of calming down a little bit, they might suit his game a bit more. The fact that he can keep it on the ground and maybe play a little bit more possession-based football there for Altona.
Just looking at Giba and Sammy Noor, they could be brothers.
I think it's the hair, honestly. It
is the hair.
It's the mushroom, almost mushroom-esque hair. That's not a criticism. Mushrooms can be nice as well, but they could be.
Well, South Melbourne is known to have a good barber or two, so maybe they go to the same barber, the fade to a mushroom cut. We're talking all things apart from soccer.
I'm actually in the market for a new barber.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I wish we had... Obviously, the cameraman's not going to swivel around, but I wish we could see the Bryce Ruthven fade at the moment. It's pristine.
It happened yesterday, and probably not the best time to do it, considering it's a bit chilly.
Yeah, I think you have to make the kind of decisions. I often wear a hat, so I kind of avoid it, but... Yeah, no, if anyone knows a really, really good barber, peep it down in the comments. Preferably southeastern suburbs, if possible.
There we go. Milovanovic, someone that doesn't really require a barber. Plays that ball long and it goes into the hands of Vitakangas. My apologies, Reganovic. Vitakangas in goals for Altona. And in no rush to play this one out. The good thing is, there's a bit of blue sky to our left, so hopefully the rain that we did have earlier has well and truly gone and we get maybe a little bit of sunshine.
It's a cliche thing to say that we get 4 seasons in one day for for Melbourne. But for those based in the Victorian city, if you might have experienced the really nice weather we had earlier today, and then the rain that was probably about an hour and a half to an hour ago, and now we're seeing almost a neutral weather, and who knows what's coming next. You mentioned the sunny skies, but that could very, very quickly turn for the worse.
Well, I was at home in Tarragon this morning, and which is about 2 hours east of southeast of Melbourne, and it was nice and sunny out there. So
I was t-shirt, and
so was I.
Yeah, it was. I didn't even pack the wet weather clothing today.
Lucky I had my traditional Melbourne jacket, the Kathmandu, in the boot of the car. Otherwise, I would have been stuffed.
The classic southeastern suburbs attire is, of course, the Kathmandu puffer. We love to see it.
Absolutely. As we see Michael Lee take this throw-in, just looking for an option, and he hasn't got one, so he gives it to Sam Mitchelson and makes himself the option. Plays in McShane, who spreads the ball, and it's intercepted there, but Ruthven tries to help him out. Calls off handball. Mlanovic goes to ground, and now Salados has some room to move. He'll take on Almazi. He'll get around him. Goes a bit wide. Looking for Konstantinides, and Vidikangas comes out, claims it. And with an early release, Altona Magic, they can counter-attack here. We'll stick with play because Michael Lee has a bit of room to move. Brings in Sammy Noor. Goes to ground, and the referee is thinking about awarding a free kick. Not sure what the referee's doing, but he's just ordered a throw-in. And a bit of confusion. He actually hasn't awarded anything as of yet.
Sammy, that had to be a free kick. I'm going to go completely unbiased.
I'll agree with you there.
That was a poor decision by the referee. Sammy Noor rightfully a little bit spewing there, but was he motioning?
Well, the referee didn't actually even award a throw-in. I think they just took it.
It's like he was motioning to his earpiece. Do they have earpiece?
Well, they're not actually wearing them today, as far as I know.
It's very, very strange. Once again, a very strange happening.
It did look like that, didn't he? He was going on an earpiece. It just wasn't existent.
He was going upstairs, going back to us, maybe.
Maybe he's got his phone in his pocket with the Facebook Live going.
We're going to see a very, very positive comment for the referee coming through soon, because it might be him. If you see anything too positive, call it out.
Well, if you want to get your comments coming through the Facebook Live platform, you can as well. Let us know your thoughts on the game so far, what the scores could end up at the end of this second 45. As you see, Giba. And there's another strong challenge. It probably should have been a free kick. And the two brothers that we've dubbed have now finally sorted out with a free kick to Altona.
I think the fact the referee waved that one on is probably fair play. I think he's made up for it now. It's going to be a super interesting contest to keep your eye on. It's getting physical. It's getting touching. As you mentioned, maybe the brotherly love has gone out the window.
And just to disclose, they're not actually brothers. We're calling it because they're very similar. And Marcus Strone, he's found some space to get on his left-hand side and uses Salados. Attempt to get onto his right, and Marcus Strone strikes the ball, and Sam Mitchelson just clears it. Melvin Beckett, he'll have a strike from distance, and there's no more than the mere pass back in the end.
An ambitious strike. He probably could have taken about 10 metres forward and then had a go, but he had a really eventful first half, Beckett. I think he's a player who's really interesting to watch. He presses so well. He works super, super hard in that midfield, maybe stepping in front of the defence. And I think for South Melbourne, they're the kind of players that are so good to have on the squad, especially if you're not looking to play a possession-based team. Just someone to hold up the play and step in when they really need him.
And he's a real mood killer for Altona Magic. Their captain, we've been alerted at half-time, Troy Ruthven, who got a yellow card in the first half. We've been told that's actually his 5th yellow card of the season, which wipes him out of their last game, round 26 at home against Pascoe next weekend. So today's his final game.
Will you be commentating next week, considering there is no...
I'm not sure, but Ruthven with a one hell of a strike, and wow, on the left foot, and it was a handball, but the referees waved it away. And yeah, I don't think the appointments have been done yet for next week, but we'll be on one of the games, not sure which one.
I love commentating Altona. Altona's always for any Altona Magic fans out there, you've got a fantastic squad. And even going to Paisley Park and having do they do the souvlaki? What do they do?
Chibapi.
Yes, of course. Yeah. They're superb. You see the steam coming out of the building every week. It's great.
You can smell it in the scaffolding tower. Doesn't get much more Victorian football than going to Paisley Park.
One tip I think for the Paisley Park staff there who do such fantastic work is when the coffees, they are extremely hot.
Actually, I have been told that.
Yeah. I think I burnt my mouth at halftime maybe last week or the week before, and scorching.
That's right, you did too.
Yeah, once they cooled down, they were gorgeous, but just that maybe 20 minutes when they're first brewed, it's tough.
And Ed, look what we've got in the field. We've got a bit of sunshine coming from the left-hand side of the screen, and Robert Stambolsiev has seen the light, tries to go forward into it, and finds McShane. And Trajanovski, smart little touch there from the youngster. Finds Stambolsiev. They're doing well here, and they're trying to get through, but they just can't quite find that extra inch, and Salados plays up the line. And that man against Salados will find some space. Konstantinides plays the ball out to the left-hand side. And as the ball comes into the sun, Zach Bates will find it. Marcus Schroen. And as Ed rightly just pointed out, the Altona Magic boys, not too much of a rush to get back and help out defend. And Ruthven forces the corner. And you can still see it now. There's about 4 boys just walking back.
They must have wanted to be as close to the sun as possible. They were absolutely in no rush to get back. They might be testament to the game we have today, where there's not necessarily much on the line, but you obviously want to see your players working hard and working as hard as they can each week. But I think South Melbourne, the counter-attack, you see, how do you pronounce this? Salados?
Salados, yeah.
Apologies, Salados. He's fantastic to watch. He's so quick and so skillful and so composed as well. He's really a big difference makers for South Melbourne today.
That chance on the edge of the box there. A sliding challenge, and Salados has a strike from distance again. And for a smaller man, he's got one hell of a right foot in him.
I wonder, it's hard to tell. He is quite, now looking at him now, he is definitely a smaller man. But like, as you mentioned, it almost looked like a toe poke, one of those indoor soccer toe pokes where they just...
Yeah, true.
Yeah, those are always got a bunch of power on them, and I think he does have a lot of quality from long distance, and I think seeing the composure he has, he's definitely a quality player for South Melbourne. He's always someone that they're looking to play the ball through as well.
Marcus Schroen will spread the ball out left to that man, Salados. But it's intercepted by Trifonov. Trajanovski played into Michael Lee, who looks to find Stambolsiev, but the ball is cut out on that left-hand side, and now Salados does well to escape the challenge. Ruthven goes to ground again. He does have to be careful. He's on a yellow card for a very similar challenge in the first half.
I mean, those are the kind of professional fouls that you kind of have to commit. And I think, Bryce, something we have to look out for in the second half is Shane Vitikangas, who is hatless, and the sun is very much in his eyes. I
actually just wondered if he was going to call for the hat, because at the moment he's got one hand shielding the eyes. So, as you see, a mix of a cross and a shot from Trajanovski. Ends up in the goal kick in favour of South Melbourne, who released the ball quick through Jiba. Finds Melbourne Beckett. Ball's played into Salados. I think if you're a South Melbourne fan, he's probably one player that you really want to try and keep on your books next year, because in what really hasn't been the best of seasons for them, we'll stay with play here as the offside flag gets called. Much to the disappointment of South Melbourne fans, but he's really been one shining light for Hellers this year.
I think this season that they've had, it's been so up and down, obviously, with the coaching changes. They got off to a really, really weak start. They had a bit of a purple patch there in the middle where I think they won maybe 4 out of 5 games at one point, having a really good stretch at home, and I think he might have been integral to that as well, just based on the way he's been playing today. I think definitely want to keep a hold of him. You see him moving the ball forward, he's going to be super composed and play a super calm pass there as well.
Marcus Schroen tries to get the ball across. El Mazi clears the lines, and Ruthven has a bit of time and space to move forward. He'll find Stambolsiev. And Trajanovski just not on the same page. Stambolsiev asking, what are you doing? Pretty much.
What are you doing? I mean, I think communication is key, and you've got to ask those kind of questions. Maybe not out loud, but in a footballing sense.
And maybe not in the way that I put it either.
What are you doing?
Maybe. It did look like he said that, though.
Yeah, almost. The body language, it was definitely the implication, I would say.
And a great ball skips Milovanovic, and Salados has a chance to go, and a great save there from Shane Vitikangas. Down at his feet, and from a mixture of a horror first half for Shane Vitikangas and a bit of brilliance, he's definitely started this half with the ladder.
I mean, I think for Shane Vidakangas, it was such a strange first half, and he's followed it up in the second half with looked like a fantastic save. I think Salado, he might have tried to go near post or maybe between the legs of Vidakangas, but credit to him, he stayed nice and big and he got his legs down as well. And dismayed the South Melbourne fans who weren't happy with the finish, but I think you have to credit Vidakangas in that situation there.
Sammy Noor. He's got Gibra in front of him and just takes a heavy touch, and Melvin Beckett ends up with that one. On the ball again. They've got some room to move, and Zach Bates plays it centrally to Constantinides. He finds Beckett, who spreads it out wide. And Slados just gets caught waiting for that one and turns the ball over, and Stan Bowlesy will try and intercept that pass but can't quite meet it. And Slados again looking to bring in a fellow attacker. And Milovanovic just looks to clear in a space, and they're out on this left-hand side here if Mitchelson can meet the pass, but the dampness of the pitch has really scared that one out.
It's the grease. I did my Googling at half-time, and I'm going to confirm it has something to do with the weather.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my...
I'd believe you. We had showers in the first half.
That's my groundsman doctor's opinion there, is that the weather has affected the pitch.
Groundsman's doctor's opinion.
They're the same thing, basically. A groundsman and a doctor have the same qualifications, and the work they do is just as important.
You're a doctor of grass. As we stay with play, and it's intercepted there by Jake Marshall. And now Zach Bates got some room to go forward. He's got Saladas on his left. Opts to use him. And it puts the ball across the face, and Shane Vidakangas up to the task of that ricochet, and looks for the early release and finds Stan Bolzev, and does well to keep that one in off the heavy surface. Comes back to Vidakangas again. El Marzi will go for a run here, as we have seen in recent weeks. He doesn't mind a bit of run forward.
That's good to see. I think Liram El Marzi, the first half he had was a strange one as well. He contributing to Altona's maybe ill effects with the defensive side of things, but you see the strength there. That's more of what we expect from him. What we've seen pretty much all season is the strength he has, the pace he has, the composure he has as well to kind of walk it out of defence and start the Altona counter-attack, or even just the nice kind of possession-based play as well.
On the ball again, he plays the pass to Sam Mitchinson. Altona just trying to calm things down here. 62 minutes gone, still 1-0 in favour of the home side. And South Melbourne do go forward here through Zach Bates. And a great intercept pass there from Sammy Noor. And Michael Lee just trying to take out the blockage of the sun. And he'll find Ruthin in the middle with some space. Plays the ball out to Stan Bolziev. He'll use Sam Mitchinson, who's come forward out of left back. And he'll just stay down here for a second, just holding the ankle. It's from a heavy challenge, and we will see a substitution for the Altona Magic. Their bench today just full of youngsters. First, we'll probably see some attention for Sam Mitchinson, because he's actually stayed down on the ground in what seems to have been a heavy challenge.
Bit of a heavy one. You hope it's just a clash of legs there. It was a pretty heavy but fair challenge from the South Melbourne player there, and he doesn't look very happy with himself. He looks like he's in a fair amount of pain. Let's hope it's, as I mentioned before, just a clash, because it's those ones you see where it's maybe a twist or a jar, which can cause some more serious soft tissue issues. But it's up on his feet. Let's hope he's able to walk this one off.
And if there's one spot that you don't want to get caught at Lakeside at the moment, it's in that corner in the shade, because the rest of the pitch is in the sun. If you're going to be lying on a wet ground, you want to at least be in the sun, wouldn't you?
I think so. I think he's chosen a decent time to go down injured with the way the sun is shining, but I can only imagine how nice this... Obviously, it's my first time here, but I can only imagine how nice this would be on a really gorgeous, sunny...
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, it's a fantastic facility, and even going inside and walking in, you see, you have the canteen there. You've got a futsal pitch in there as well, which is really fantastic. So if anyone at home hasn't treated themselves to a lakeside visit, I highly recommend you do so.
And we just saw Altona Magic make a substitution. Number 14, David Trajanovski, being replaced by number 36, the youngster in George Murray. And the substitute does play the ball in. Looks to get involved straight away. And Melbourne Beckett just happy to clear the lines. Trifonov held back. Referee waves it away. And it's that substitute, Muri, looking to put the ball in. And he's got Michael Lee on the edge. And Michael Lee puts it to the right-hand side of the goal. Another chance there for Altona Magic and the youngster, the substitute, getting involved nice and early.
It's great to see as you mentioned, the youngster getting on the ball and maybe adding a little bit of flair, a little bit of energy. But he skewed that one with the outside of the foot and just curving away from the goal, not causing any issues for the South Melbourne goalkeeper. But it's another chance there for Altona. Maybe the first they've had in this second half to really give themselves a nice buffer. And as you mentioned earlier, in a game like this, it's really fantastic to see some young players getting a run and having a go and really getting involved as well.
And Sam Mitchelson just turns over the ball there, and Stan Bowlesy with a strong challenge on Benjiba. And a couple of names we didn't touch on in the first half that aren't involved in the squad today. Daniel Kaczynski, also James McGarry. I'm not too sure about their absences today. Normally they've been involved in recent weeks, but if you're aware of maybe injury, sickness, let us know in the comments, because they've been two real main fixtures of the Altona Magic squad, and they're not even involved today.
They might have put their hand, maybe it was a request from the coach, maybe put their hand up and maybe give a run for the younger players, maybe give a bit of an opportunity for them to get around, and maybe they just take a bit of an early break or something like that, or who knows. But as you mentioned, they have been a stronghold for the Altona side, and I think for a game like this, they might have a little bit of a niggle, or maybe take an early season rest, maybe to sort some things out. But who knows?
And it will be a goal kick. Last touch coming off Constantinides. Got a comment coming through the Facebook live stream for you here. Lisa has said there's a good barber at Broadmeadow Shops. So it's probably the opposite end of Melbourne to where you live.
I mean, look, who was her name? Lisa. I think if we can get a scale of how good the barber is, I might be willing to make the trek out to Broadmeadows. My car is in the shop at the moment, so I know Broadmeadows is a tough place to get to by public transport. But let's get a gauge of how good this place actually is, and maybe I'll give it a squiz.
Could always come out to Taragan where I go, but it's up to you if you want to come down out to Gippsland for the drive.
It's not a bad drive. My car is quite old, so
it's cooked.
No, it's all right. It's just very, very old, so it might struggle. Who knows?
Michael Lee with a great ball here to Muri, and he's called offside, the youngster, and a great chance to find the back of the net, but unfortunately for the substitute will come to no avail.
No complaints there, but it's tough to tell from this position whether he was offside or not. It looked extremely close. I think benefited a doubt to the linesman there, was in a really, really good position. But you see again the space Altona have. I think South Melbourne, they might just be slacking a little bit. They're maybe not working as hard as they usually would. And Altona, they might be reaping the benefits and finding some chances here in the 68 minutes of this second half.
And you can really see signs of some wear and tear through that centre corridor of the pitch here. It has been one of those games where a lot of the play has really been in the middle of the park, and the wear and tear is all proof of that.
I think we mentioned how well the pitch is holding up, and I think it is doing relatively well. I think we can maybe use Paisley Park as a reference point where they struggle to keep the ground in good condition, and I think, as I mentioned before, it's maybe about the drainage, maybe it's about how wide the pitch is and what's going on. As I mentioned, I'm not a huge grass nerd, I'm just a doctor. I don't know the facilities inside and out, but I try my best to make a diagnosis from the position I am up here.
Nothing a bit of fertiliser can't fix.
That's doctors, second opinion. Fertiliser, I like to keep it natural, keep it water-based, maybe.
Well, the right day for it today. As you see, Michael Lee spread the ball out left, looking for Muri. And Chris Aradis just plays the ball back to Salados. Referee has to duck for that ball. And it is a good one because there's a lot of space on that left-hand side. Still 20 minutes remaining here, plus stoppage time. Michael Lee. He'll bring in Elmazi. Michael Lee again ends up on the ball. Finds Sam Mitchinson. And Marcus Schroen looking to go around a substitute, and the youngster does well there to just put it out for a throw in. Now, the effect of, or the result of today's match has no real effect on the ladder in terms of promotion, or not promotion, final spot or relegation. But next week it is the final round. All matches will be played next Sunday afternoon in the NPL Victoria at 3 p.m. You can catch all of those streamed live on Facebook all at the one time. But there is some big games lined up next week. Bentley and Avondale at Kingston Heath. That one can have massive ramifications for the title race. Obviously, Heidelberg have a real stranglehold on that now after the result yesterday. 3-2 win for them. They're going to be travelling here, Heidelberg, to Lakeside to play South. So all I'll need is a point to claim the minor premiership, and that's a massive traditional rivalry, that one. So you never know what result could happen there.
I think South Melbourne, they might get a word from Avondale during the week, just to say maybe put a little bit of extra sauce into the game, maybe to help them out slightly. But I mentioned earlier, if you haven't had a chance to come down to Lakeside, next week will definitely be a fantastic chance to do so. I think Heidelberg, the way they have been playing, the way they've been handling high pressure situations, they should be fine. But Avondale, it'd be a fairy tale, wouldn't it, if they came back? The fact they were so far ahead and then struggled a little bit towards the end, not able to hold off the Heidelberg train. They're a fair shout to take it as well. So if you are around, definitely check out the games. If you're not able to, we're always here on the live streams as well to call all the games for you. Another game you might want to look out for is Altona Magic versus Pascoe Vale, who that relegation race is super, super exciting. If Pascoe Vale can pick up 3 points there and results go their way, they move up into a playoff spot and maybe save themselves for next season. Who knows? Yeah,
well, I can tell you what, the Heidelberg coaching staff, they're in attendance here today. I think every game that not every game, majority of the games that I've called this year, they have all been there. So they must get out and watch a hell of a lot of football.
Maybe they're just here to watch good football.
We could see that happening now. Chris Aradas misses it, but Salados will have a strike, and Elmazi with the block there. And that was goal-bound if that didn't get a touch.
We're a fantastic angle for that one, and it looked like it was going to be sliding into that far left-hand post, and Elmazi did super well to get across to that one. I think if South Melbourne can continue to push here and maybe pick up a second, it could make things interesting for Altona, who have really been looking the more positive side in the second half. But South Melbourne, I almost forgot they scored that goal, actually, considering everything that happened and the fact that the game's kind of been a little bit more low-key. But Zach Bates, who's coming off here, he had a fantastic game. He's worked super hard. First game I've seen him this year, and he's been super impressive. And he's a player. Again, you mentioned some of the players they're going to look to keep hold of. He's definitely one who I'd want to be keeping on the books as well.
Yeah, he'll be replaced by number 19, Will Orford. And he'll go straight into the box for this corner. And he'll go and be a short option. Salados doesn't look towards him. He puts it into the back post. And it will be a goal kick. Ward to Shane Vidikangas.
I think this is going to be an interesting last 15 minutes. We mentioned how there's not a huge amount on the line here, but of course every game wants to be won, and Altona, they'll be super motivated. They are a super prideful group who are going to take every game they have and obviously try and get the best result possible. And maybe my 1-1 draw will be correct. Maybe that's what I'm gunning for.
Possibly. Ruthven on the ball. Plays Milovanovic and finds Elmazi. Good ball into Stambolziev. Deflection finds Sam Mitchinson. Comes back to Ruthven. Stambolziev. Got a bit of space. Beats Marcus Schroen. But can't quite get past Jiba. And Stambolziev with a great little flick through to Sam Mitchinson. Finds some space. He'll have a strike on his right, and it turns into a cross. And John McShane, thought he was going to try and get a touch in there.
We mentioned whether things were a cross or a shot in stem bowls. If you put a lot of effort into that cross, I'm going to call it a cross this time.
It's like a knuckleball cross.
Maybe it just... I mean, there's not a huge amount of wind anymore, so we'll eliminate that one. But he's a player who... We mentioned earlier how quick he is, how powerful he is, and he's really good with his feet, but you don't see him, making those crosses even though he is a winger. He almost drives himself into the box and get himself into goal-scoring opportunities, so maybe it's uncharted territory for him on the wing.
Marcus Schrone looks to play the ball into Amazi, and he just intercepts it and puts it out for a throw-in. Jiba. Looking for an option. Makes himself an option again, and Constantinides can't quite keep that ball in. Switch of play to Milanovic. And that man does go along looking for John McShane. Looks for Trifonov, and Samuel will be called offside on the edge of the 18-yard box.
John McShane's not too happy with that one. Maybe it's the fact he did so well to get a head on it, and then Samuel might have drifted offside a little bit too quickly. But John McShane's someone who maybe next season will be calling a few more goals for. He's hopefully going to stick around Altona way and hopefully spend a little bit more time out in the field. I think he missed a fair few games this season. We remember the first game I called with Altona. It was his first game back, and he looks super impressive. He looks like it's definitely their first option to go for in the attacking sense, but as I mentioned earlier, he's not had a huge amount of success this year, maybe in the second half where he's struggled for form a little bit, maybe just been a little bit rusty and not quite been able to get into things as he usually would like to.
Stan Bolziev. Pass is intercepted there, and Marcus Schrome will have the chance to go forward. Looking for Chrysaradis. Bit of time on the edge of the box. Comes across looking for Salados. Swinging up his options, goes to the back post, and Vitikangas on the stretch. Punches it out, and Ruthven will claim it and go forward. He'll find Michael Lee. And there's not too much movement in front. He's forced to play a pass in, and the Altona Magic players just all caught flat-footed there and had no real option for Michael Lee.
They didn't follow up on the athleticism and the salmon-like leap of Shane Vitikangas, who did super well to get a hand on that cross and using, as we mentioned earlier, 6'7", with, I think, mathematically calling his wingspan just huge, big, massive.
Huge. Yeah, I think, that was the words we were using.
Yeah, something along those lines. But I think you mentioned the Altona players a little bit flat-footed, and we saw them earlier maybe lingering a little bit on the attack instead of pushing back in defence, maybe not working as hard as we might see in a more competitive game where there's a little bit more on the line. But you see a little bit of frustration there for Almazi, who might still be pushing for everything and obviously looking to get a result here. 10 minutes to go. It's going to be interesting to see if Altona can force anything. They have been on the ball a little bit more last 15 to 20 minutes, so see if they can force anything here.
This is Stan Bolziev looking to get the ball across, and Ruthven will be there, edge of the box, and has a strike from distance. He has scored one or two goals in previous games here during his time with Bentley, one notably in a grand final many years back. It was an absolute screamer. And even I'll say that myself as the brother, but it was one of those goals that, he doesn't mind playing here, and that could have been a decent bit of footage.
As I saw him lining that one up, I was waiting for the classic commentary to Ruth Van. They didn't come.
Nah, wouldn't do that. No? Nah, not for him. Cameraman's laughing too. He agrees.
Just give him Troy. Maybe one of those.
That's these minor balls. They do move, the NPL balls.
They do. It's not quite Jabulani, but I do know a good minor ball is incredibly hard, and you wouldn't want to cop one, especially on a day like this. But do they knuckle as much as a normal ball? Do they kind of?
Well, from what some of the players that I'm friends with have said to me, they said, you can really send them in the air. So that was a bit of proof, I suppose. Yeah. See Stan Bolziev sent this one into the box, and it's cleared by Jake Marshall. And now South have the chance to go forward. And a solid bit of contact there from Milovanovic. And there's a big day in Victorian football coming up, September 15. It's a Sunday. Mark in your diaries. Amy Park will be hosting a triple header. We've got 3 big games. We're starting off the day with the promotion relegation playoff between the NPL 1 and NPL 2 sides for a spot in next year's top NPL. Then we've got the women's NPL grand final, followed lastly by the NPL Victoria showpiece event of the year. All happening at Amy Park, Sunday, September 15. You can get your tickets through ticketek.com.au. It's going to be a massive day. Huge crowd expected at a great venue as well.
It's always a great venue, Amy Park, to go to. I think I was around kind of when the A-League was going on and Amy Park wasn't there, and we kind of had to, kind of just stick with Etihad. But once that stadium's come in, it's been a fantastic venue. And such a great day as well. 3 massive, massive games. And I think the NPL playoff will be one that I'm definitely looking forward to.
That's my favourite. Yeah. I remember the scenes last year. Green Gully came back from the death to really save themselves and earn their spot back in the top flight this year.
And you see a team like Green Gully, they're almost, I think you mentioned a couple of weeks ago how they're probably the odds-on dark horse for this year's final series. Finals obviously a completely different beast to the regular season, but they've got a team where they've got so much goal scoring potential with, I think Alex Salmon. Yeah, he's been super, super good this year, and it just shows you get promoted one year, you're in the finals the next year. Who knows where it can go from there?
Well, it's interesting you bring up dark horses for the finals. Obviously, Heidelberg and Avondale, they'll be the favourites heading into the final series to take out the title. But next weekend, we could see an interesting clash here. Oakley take on Green Gully. Now, this has a bit of an effect in finals placings, depending on results too, with Bentley as well, because Green Gully or Oakley could finish as high as 3rd, which is a great advantage going to the final series. And that team that finishes 3rd could be the dark horse to do some damage in the final series.
You get a home final, don't you, if you finish? How does it work?
You've really got me off guard here. I haven't looked too much into it yet.
If we can do an NPL quiz, probably the easiest quiz we've done so far this year, how does the final system work? Chuck it down in the comments.
I'll run the quiz and I'll ask the questions. How does that sound?
We need the knowledge. We need to know somehow. The winner can get a handshake and a smile maybe if we ever see each other.
And amongst our mini quiz, we've had a substitution for South Melbourne. Chris Aratis coming off, being replaced by number 27, Lee Monopolis. He'll get the remaining 8 minutes plus stoppage time at Lakeside as the ball comes out to the left-hand side to Sam Mitchinson. Comes off Melbourne Beckett and Muri. We'll get an option to get it across, and it goes out for a corner. And just some danger signs here. South might have to be careful because we could get your predicted 1-1 result.
Very dangerous. I think that a very cheeky deflection, and the youngster there for Avondale for Altona rather did well to get a hold of that one. Dangerous set pieces now. Altona, they're committing a lot of players forward. No one even close to the halfway line, and keep an eye for some big boys as this one comes in.
Michael Lee whips this into the back post, but Reganovic up to the task, claims that one. Just holding up play here, just trying to slow the game down as much as possible. Altona Magic players saying, where's the 6 seconds gone? I think that rule's kind of just disappeared from football.
I remember a few years ago, Simon Mignolet for Liverpool got called up because I think he held onto the ball for like 17 seconds or something insane. And honestly, I think that's what it would take.
Well, that's exaggerating the rules a bit, isn't it?
Slightly, ever so slightly. But I think it is a rule that...
It's in the rule book.
Yeah, but you just kind of wave it off. I remember I used to referee as well, and it would be the kind of rule where you'd... Like, the only time you played is if it was extreme. Like really, really bad. And I think it's an indirect free kick, I'm pretty sure, from the position where the goalkeeper's holding the ball, I think.
Yes, and we will see a substitution here for Altona Magic. Be Sammy Knorr coming off, getting an early mark, being replaced by number 7, Adam Rizky. I can't even remember the last time I saw that pulled up, the 6 second rule.
It's the things Simon Mignolet would have done back in the day, in his maybe last couple of years when he was starting for Liverpool. But yeah, no, other than that, I can't think of a situation. I think I've had to do it once in like a under 17s game where the bloke just would not throw the ball and you just hang on to it. Just wouldn't happen.
Stan Bolsiev plays in the ball to Sam Mitchinson. Looks for Muri. We'll try and whip the ball across and does so. And Marcus Schroen forced to clear that out for another corner. Tell you what, the substitute Muri's had a bit of an impact on this left-hand side.
He's looked good. He's got the flowing blonde locks, which are always great to see. He definitely doesn't need a barber. He's looking gorgeous. And we hear the applause from the Altona fans as he's a really firm left foot cross. I'm not sure of the dominant side that he's on, but if he's right-footed, you can see him playing balls like that with his left foot. It's good to see. And if anyone's keeping an eye on the Altona under-20s team, let us know how he's been going this season, because he's looked dangerous so far, and he's definitely someone who's earned their call-up and earned their right to play today, 100%.
As you say that, he takes a touch and goes straight out for a goal kick, but he must have earned his spot to get into the top team at the club for today's match day. So it's good to see some youth players being promoted. Same as South Melbourne, they've kind of gone on that track the last couple of weeks too, playing a lot of younger players as well.
I think the South Melbourne under-20s team is, I think, actually that's credit to NPL under-20s. They're all super strong sides. And I think it's good to see, well, not good to see, but interesting to see the fact that it isn't just Melbourne City youth who are doing super well, or Melbourne Victory youth. And
it is a tough one, because really at the under-20s level, you've got a lot of players at that age looking to try and play senior football and going down to a lower league or a less performing club, you could even say, to try and get that experience in the top flight.
I think it's difficult. If you're a player who is about 19 and 20, you do obviously want to be playing first team football, but you still want to be playing at a high standard and a physical standard. But I think that's something that Victorian football is working hard towards, is really giving the younger players a go and giving them a chance. We're not quite seeing it in the A-League enough yet, I don't think, is the young players actually having a go. But NPL, it's always been a really good system to bring the youth players through and to give them the opportunity to then propel them forward. I think it's just about taking that one more extra step up into the A-League where they can really excel and really perform well.
Well, it's interesting. We have seen Mark Rudin, of course, the new Western United coach. He's been down at Paisley Park a couple of times this year, and at Avondale as well, watching a few games, obviously in their catchment area as such. You don't really see him to see too much of Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory getting out about. Obviously with their youth sides in the comp, they see players that way at the lower level, but in terms of filling rosters, Melbourne City's pretty full, but Melbourne Victory definitely looking for a couple of players at the moment, and Elvis Camsoba, prime example of what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think maybe it's the higher market maybe for those sides, as they're looking to get players who are almost like guaranteed to be excellent. They might also be shopping overseas as well. I think you mentioned Mark Rudin, who's obviously with Western United. They might not have the opportunities to look overseas for younger players, where Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory might do.
We'll stay with play because Slatos has a chance to come down this right-hand side. He's weighing up his options, goes across the face of goal, and that is a goal for Constantinides, and that will seal the deal here at Lakeside Stadium. 2-0 in favour of the home side, South Melbourne over Altona Magic.
A very relaxed and very chilled finish there. We mentioned earlier how there's not a huge amount on the line here, but South Melbourne, they've played right till the end there, and they've got the goal I think they probably deserved in the end for the way they played in the second half. And it's just a very easy goal, relatively easy tap, and not much Shane Vitikangas can do there. But we hear the applause from the South Melbourne supporters getting behind their boys and getting behind their players as they pick up a nice victory here at Lakeside.
As the tunes get played behind us, it's like we're at Rev's nightclub in Melbourne, as the goals get celebrated by the fans here, and South Melbourne fans can go home with a bit of a smile as they do start to leave with minutes remaining at Lakeside, because they haven't had too much to cheer about, but not a bad performance from the boys in blue.
They've looked okay. I think it's been a couple of individual performances rather than a fully coherent team performance. But at home, it's always nice to pick up a win. Always nice to pick up a win against a team that's kind of in the same area as you. And if results persist, this could mean they finish up in 7th rather than down in 10th, which is always good for the club. Always good to finish a little bit higher.
Another chance here, and it's going to be called offside. And a substitute won't get a chance to add there. And this is the thing. You've got to look at looking towards next year. The results you do put in at this time of the year, it can help attract players to the club next year. You can also deter players away from coming as well.
100%. I think these are the kind of games where you can tell who's there to win games of football and to play football, and who's there to kind of just cruise along and only really play when it matters. And I think it's these kind of games where you play for your job, you play for your right to be paid and to perform at this high level. And I think the players we're seeing perform are the players who are going to reap the rewards when it comes, final sides and when they're playing at a higher level, or even if they move on to a more successful club as well.
El Mazi finds Ruthven. He'll go forward again. You're playing Sam Mitchinson, who will get the ball across. Great ball in. And a great intercept, a very important intercept from South Melbourne at the back there. And Ruthven will play it short to Muri. And the pass gets intercepted. And Salados will just send this one up the line to Constantinides. As you see, 3 minutes of stoppage time added on. Ruthven finds Stambolziev. He'll use Muri on his left. And Sam Mitchinson, he stays onside. He'll whip the ball in, and it will take a touch off John McShane, and we'll go for a goal kick.
Tough one for John McShane. He's just trying to get his foot in there, and Sam Mitchinson, he's had a decent game today. He's always known for working super hard. He's not the flashiest of fullbacks, but he works hard enough, and he gets the balls in, and he's always good for a good left foot delivery. But it's been a tough one for John McShane today, who I mentioned earlier. He needs good service. It's been relatively okay today, but hasn't really had one of those clear-cut opportunities where he can get a head on or get a toe in and really make an effect on the score sheet.
The ball trickles through back to El Mazi. Comes to Ruthven. We'll play a short ball into Stambolziev. And we'll just turn it over as well. Constantinides will just hold it up until Winnie side a throw in just in front of the Altona Magic bench. Altona win the ball in the middle of the park, and I'll go wide through the substitute. And Schrone just wins that one as the ball sent wide, and Melbourne Beckett will come central with it again. Nice touch on the inside here, and Vidikangas just palms that one out and will go over for a corner.
South Melbourne still working super hard here. Maybe they're playing for the goal difference, or maybe they're playing for an in-house goal tally, perhaps. Maybe that's what the beef was about.
Yeah, be interesting to see if anything comes out of that one in the coming days.
That will be super interesting for those who didn't quite catch the first half. There was I think you mentioned earlier, it was a frosty exchange that made it even frostier out in the middle. It was interesting. Once both the players left, the sun came out less frosty.
Yeah, true. Now we've got some dark clouds around.
Maybe he's back. Maybe he's waiting in the car park.
We actually haven't seen him come out of the dressing room. We're talking about Mauro Fiotti as well. In exchange with his captain, Marcus Schrone, over a penalty. And who was going to take it? The penalty was scored by Marcus Schrone, but the earlier wasn't too happy about it.
He definitely wasn't happy. And we're speculating, of course, as to what the causes are. And we hope it's nothing too serious. We hope it's all just brushed off and it's maybe just one of those things. But we see the final whistle blown there, and hear the cheers from the South Melbourne supporters. It's a good 2-0 victory over Altona, and credit to the boys in blue for coming out and delivering today. And Altona, they did put up a fight. A very interesting game in the first half, and it continued in the second half, but credits to South Melbourne, who do well to pick up the 3 points today.
Yeah, and that is the full-time whistle here. 2-0 in favour of the home side, South Melbourne, over the Altona Magic in round 25 of NPL Victoria. Next week, there's a big one here at Lakeside. If you are coming down, South Melbourne do take on Heidelberg, 3 p.m. next Sunday, and if you're an Altona Magic fan, your boys will be home at Paisley Park for the final match of their campaign against Pascoe, fighting to save their future in the NPL Victoria. My name is Bryce Ruthven, joined by Ed Gooden. Thank you, Ed, for joining me this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Bryce, and I'm looking forward to next week where we get an update on the best barber in Melbourne.
Absolutely, and bring on the final week of NPL Victoria, round 26 next weekend. We will catch you then on Facebook Live and YouTube.